Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books. What a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together. What a yummy snack. PBJamz. Yummy books and music. PBJamz. Reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz. What a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time.
Evening, whatever time of day or night it is that you're joining us. We are in two very different times because I am on the East Coast and Brandi is in Hawaii. So wherever you're coming from and whatever time frame you're in, we are just so happy that you're here. I'm especially happy because it's been a hot minute since I've done any PBJamz. I'm like trying to make sure that I remember everything I'm supposed to do because it's been a nice little break while I took my summer off and it's been super busy with book travels. But I am super happy to be back in the PBJamz studio with Brandi Uyemura. And this is also her debut book, so we've been enjoying our debut year simultaneously. And her debut book is called I Am a Bond Dancer, illustrated, and I'm probably going to massacre her name. I should have asked you. Amy Matsushita Beal.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay, good. So that's the illustrator, and this book is out by Holiday House. And I know Brandi's been doing lots of events and fun things, and so we're going to dig in and talk a little bit about this book and her experience. So to start off, Brandi, tell us a little bit about how you came to this book, like the inspiration, and if there's anything about the journey that it's experienced, you're welcome to share that as well.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. And I forgot to mention, I just wanted to, if I could, thank
Yeah.
you because you took a picture of my book at the ALA and I didn't know my book was a Junior Library Guild
Oh,
vote. I didn't even know. I just saw that. I was like, what is that? And then yeah, so anyway, because of you, I found out. So thank you so much
you are
for thinking
welcome.
about me and for having me on here. Even though you're so busy, I'm very honored to be here. My story starts like a very, very long time ago when my son, who is, he just turned 13. My
Oh,
goodness. And when I started the book, he was like a baby, like he was 1 years old. Yeah, and I was writing for a very long time. I actually started writing picture books when I was a kid,
mm-hmm.
because I love books so much. And thankfully, my mom saved. I have a bunch of my picture books here actually that she made. She saved for me, and I've always liked to write and to draw, and thought about it for so many years. I even got my degree in English literature, but I don't know. I didn't think that like I could actually do it. I don't know why I didn't think about doing it, but I was reading tons of picture books and with my son, and I was thinking, my goodness, I would just love to write a picture book. And you know what? If I were to write a picture book, what would I write about? And so I started to think about it, and I had this memory of being with my grandfather in Kauai, where he's from. My mom grew up on the sugar plantation in Kauai, actually.
Oh,
Um, yeah, the McBride sugar plantation, and it was such a that memory stayed with me forever. Like I only knew him till I was 16 years old, but I was really close to my grandfather. He left a really big impression on me. And just being at the Abundance Festival is so special. So I don't know if you have one there, but if you do, I hope that you get to go to one, because it's just every time I go, I'm full of like memories, flooded memories, and like, or just emotion, because it's just beautiful, like there's lanterns hanging and the music, like there's like taiko drums. So, and there's like, sometimes there's live music. So I remember there's one woman would be singing the songs, and it was just such a joyful celebration. And my grandfather just like loved it so much. He prepared for it. I remember like that day he would, get his happy coat, and I brought these towels to show you, but it's antenugui. It's the hand towel that they usually put it around their neck and they dance with it. So he would get this ready with his happy coat, and then he had like this special hair oil, and he was kind of balding, but he would like use it to pat down, the little few hairs
yeah,
on his
yeah.
head. And it was just, I was so excited because I could feel his excitement. He would give us money to play carnival games there, and he would be like, "Come on, get in, the station wagon," and then with my cousins, and then we would like, jump into the station wagon. He would pick up his friends, his family, and we would go there. And I was like, I want to write about that. That's what I want to write about. And so that like began the journey of like trying to figure out how do I create this into a picture book. I don't know if I answered your question, but
That's perfect. It's always, we hear a lot in the writing world about writing what we know, and so I think this is a great example of you taking a childhood memory and kind of fleshing that out into a story, and sharing bits of your culture and those sweet memories with your granddad. Just super super sweet and very fun. Some of the best stories start out as those childhood memories. So, yeah, thank you for sharing. Um, Talk to us a little bit. So, you mentioned already like the taiko drums, and obviously with the title, it's called I Am a Bond Dancer. So, talk to us a little bit about where music shows up in this book and kind of the musical connections that you perceive.
well, I feel like I should go back a little bit and start off more. I didn't get to finish really answering, I guess, but when I think about my journey of becoming a published author, I had so many rejections, and I think initially when I wrote the picture book, I don't think it had very too much sensory details. Like I think I kind of mentioned it, but that was part of the process, right? So when I first created the picture book, I was writing it as, I was a freelance writer, so I wrote it as real life, like as a nonfiction writer. And so
Right.
yeah, I think that we all do that.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so.
and I had to learn my lesson for how many years, 5 or 6 years of rewriting and writing. And I didn't share this part of it, but I was really fortunate because I was ready to give up. You know, how many times I had so much rejections with editors and with agents. And during 2020, actually during the pandemic, there was the PB chat, which was like a Twitter program where you could win a mentorship with the author. And I was like, I'll just try it, like I think it was late at night and I just sent it off or something. And then I got an email saying, congratulations, you're accepted into the pro. I was like, what? I was in shock.
Right.
There's no way that there's no way I couldn't believe it. And I got paired with Andrea Wang. So I don't know if you know Andrea
Mhm.
Wang. She's
Yeah.
amazing. She's an award-winning author of Watercress and so many other books. And that was amazing experience to get to work with her. I'm so humbled by that experience and so grateful toward her and to Justin who created the program. I really believe, and that's the reason why this book got published is because of her. When I spoke with her, she helped me to figure out what was my real story. Like, what is the heart of this story? Because I think I was writing it like, this was a day with the grandpa and the cousins, and it was fun and everything. But I didn't really have a story beyond my own experience. And so I started to do research on Bon Dance because I didn't know that much about it, only what I knew, as a kid growing up around the Bon Dance Festival every year. And what I learned was like amazing. I learned that this comes from the Festival of Souls. That's what it means, Bonodori, or I mean Obon. Bonodori is a dance. It comes from Buddhism, from India. And I learned that, like it comes specifically from a story about um, Mokuren and how he saw his mother suffering in the afterlife, and so he like asked, please help her, and he was supposed to give an offering to the monks, and then when he did that, his mom was released, and he was so happy he danced in joy. And that stayed with me, and then I learned that the festival is a celebration of our ancestors and the people who came before us, and that really, I don't know, even when I talk about it now, I have like chicken skin
Yeah.
thinking about it because maybe that's another layer why it's so special to me. But there's something about the music and being there, and even if you don't believe that literally your ancestors are dancing with you, there I was just thinking about this today, is that there's a memory of them. When you hear the music, every time music, even people who lost their memory, they recall some memories from hearing music. It's so significant and meaningful. And so I was like so excited because I was like, oh my gosh, this is what's missing in my story. And so it became a story about me and my family that transitioned to a story about everybody and our ancestors, and the importance of celebrating. And that was the story that got sold. and I'm so happy about it and so grateful that the publisher, took a chance on my story that started so small with such a niche festival, but
Mm.
became more than what I expected it was going to be. And for the music part, the I learned also that I forgot to mention that the music tells different stories. It's like hula with, for
Mhm.
Native Hawaiians, those tell stories with their hands. And like the bone dance was created, it came from my grandfather. I had mentioned that he worked on the plantation, and the Japanese brought one from Japan, and so had many iterations of the dance. And so a lot of the dances come from Japan where they're working in the coal mines, but then also in Hawaii it was adapted for like working on the sugarcane field. So I learned all of that when I did my research, and it became so much more meaningful, and that's part of my story too. I think that that's one way that culture can be preserved is through music. And like it's a way to bring people together. And even if it's not your culture, like a lot of people from different cultures love the pole dance because they're very simple steps that anybody can do. Someone told me it's kind of like line dancing to them. And you're just
Okay.
following, yeah, you're just following everybody around in the circle. So it's not super intimidating once you realize that, we just have to follow the person in front of you if you don't remember the steps. Um, but yeah, I hope I answered your question. I always go off a little bit on a
Oh, that's
tangent.
okay. No, those are great. Yeah, those are great details. And I love how you were talking about, how those sensory details were missing in the beginning, and you really kind of had to dig deep to find those. And I do think that's very common, especially for those of us that are, just starting out. Like, these are our first books. And so, this is kind of our first time breaking into the market. And so we're still very fresh with those things that were not quite where they needed to be. And it's great to think about. I like how you said sensory details, and that often is where the music shows up in stories, when people are adding in, when authors are, trying to make it feel more real to the reader, and they're putting in those sensory details. And so when you think about, taste, touch, smell, and hearing, um, you know, music is such a big part of that. And also, yeah, 100%, like culture, sharing culture, I think, is preponderantly, musical in nature. I mean, there's so much music in all of our cultures, even those of us who may not have as ancient a culture or as rich, like we don't think of it that way, but still that music, when you were talking about the memories of even people who have passed on. And so my uncle passed away a couple of years ago, and one of my favorite childhood memories is just being in the house where he and my grandmother lived, and there was old country music playing. Like, that's what they listened to. And just a couple of weekends ago, my husband and I were at a bluegrass festival, and they were playing old country, and like, that's what comes back to us, right? It's all those, that music puts you right back in that living room, even though that house doesn't even exist anymore. And even though both of them have passed on, like, that music puts you right back in contact with those memories. And so it does become just very special and a really sweet way to share our culture. So yeah, I think that was so perfect and lovely.
Yeah, I think that music also brings that emotion too. And it's interesting because when you're saying that, I was thinking, I heard like an agent or someone was saying it's hard to have books about music. It's because it's something that, that they're not they can't hear, right? But I think that actually when I read, it's funny because I got to read my book while I was at the Bone Dance Festival, and I was like, wow, it's so interesting because I can actually feel the bone dance from reading the words on the page. Like, so, I mean, I think it is possible to translate that into text. I think that if you have the memory to, you can actually feel it. And I try to write the words so that it sounds like the bone dance. Like, and when I do, when I go and talk to kids at the libraries, like I have them thump, like I say in the book, and bump, so that they can be a
Yeah.
part of that. And so, I think it's because something about like hearing the sounds of the music, it triggers memories, and it makes you feel something too. And I mean, I think that's the connection piece for me when I think about my grandfather, and like I can remember and see him in my mind, like him, dancing around the Yagoda or the tower, and like all his friends saying, hi Waka, and me sitting and watching him, and just being a part of that. Even going to the Bon Dance Festival, I've gone a couple times this year with my book, and it just reminds me of all of those memories. And I treasure it so much more now, even more than I did as a kid, because now I have all the additional things that have happened since then. But yeah, I mean, I think that people hopefully can appreciate that, Bondance is beautiful, right? Like the food is so good and the lanterns just it's really just visually beautiful to be there. And I think Amy did an amazing job with the illustrations to capture that. Really, really amazing. People were telling me that when they came to for my signings, that she really captured the feeling of being there. But yeah, I think that I don't know where I was going with
Yeah, having
that.
a great illustrator that can do that, that can bring those sensory details to life is I mean that's golden. Like having that artist that can really dig in and pull those things to life is just such a blessing. Really wonderful.
Like your book back there, it's so beautiful.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Natalia did such an amazing
Mhm.
job. And, like sometimes they just add in those things that we never would have even thought about or dreamed of. And I think that's the very best partnerships is when they bring a whole nother level to your story than what you ever could have imagined. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's also difficult to capture abundance because it's one scene. So it
Mm,
to really like bring a lot of emotion to make it, dynamic and to show an action that way, while having emotion. It was like I think it'd be really difficult because usually you want to have like a lot of different scenes. I mean, like
right.
different settings and stuff, but this is like one abundance. So yeah, that was really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, the illustrator has to get really creative. Like same with my book, like it's one concert, it's one moment in time. And they don't really recommend that, for
Yeah,
picture books. They do recommend like there's a lot of scene changes and a lot of different places to give the illustrator a lot of freedom and interesting things to work with. And it's like you and I didn't really take that lesson. We're just like, yeah, let's just focus in on this one, but that's really the beauty of having an amazing illustrator that can take just that one scene and really magnify it and take it down to those tiniest little details and make it so beautiful and make it picture book worthy. Yeah, for sure.
I don't
Well,
know for your book, when you do your visits and stuff, but for me, I also incorporate music so that the kids can hear it too. I mean, besides like having them hit their thighs and stomp their feet, like I teach them some, bone dance too. I don't know if you do that too, but just to give them another layer of the feeling of being there.
yeah, the very best signings and events that I've done have been ones where we've been able to have some music. And of course, even if I'm by myself, yes, I mean we sing songs. I've made up little songs, to go along and teach them certain things to go along with it. But we've also had a couple of events where we actually had string instruments there that the
Wow.
kids could see and hear, and that's been so lovely. So yeah, I definitely think anytime you can bring that in. I mean, when our books are about music, like it only makes sense that we would somehow integrate that into our presentations, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
know I was a little intimidated to be honest because I'm not an expert at ball dance, but I think the whole point of my books after myself is that, it's okay to make a mistake. Even though even as an adult, I still feel intimidated by it. It's like that's not the reason why you're doing it. You're not trying to be
Right.
perfect. You're trying to like connect with your culture and be a part of something bigger than yourself and have courage that every time I go up there, and it's amazing how much the book has had so many like life lessons for me about like my culture, having confidence, being courageous, because I used to be so scared of like speaking in public. So it's really tested me every time before an event. I'm like so nervous, and at the end of it I'm like, why was I so nervous?
That was
It's
so much fun.
I
Yeah.
know, and it's just these little kids, you just see them smiling at you, and they don't care if you make a mistake, they're just want to have a good time, and so I try to remember that, and I mean, I just wanted to share that my book too has just brought so much joy and just so many full circle moments with my family. Like I found out that one of the churches that I had a signing at, my parents got married there my kids went to
Oh,
school there. And actually, I just found out when I was there. My memory must not be good because I forgot that the bishop he oversaw my grandmother's funeral, so like a long time ago. And then he also taught my son taiko, and I didn't even know until that day. My son was like, I think he was my taiko teacher, and I was like, oh my gosh! And I asked him, and he was like, yeah. So I mean, look at all those connections from my book. I feel like, oh my gosh, I feel so blessed every time you think about it. Like if I didn't have the courage to keep going after 10 years and so much rejection. I mean, I had every reason to just give up, because
yeah.
that's such a long time and most people don't take that. I don't know. I feel like most people don't take that long, but I'm so glad that I stuck it through because I would never have had those experiences if I didn't.
I think every journey is so different, and there are people for sure that just come out blazing like super quickly. But I think for a lot of us, like it's years in the trenches, and it takes a really long time. But I do think that makes us appreciate it maybe all the more because we did have to work super hard, and face a lot of rejection, and all of that strengthens us, to face whatever else is going to come down the line. There's always, we talk about this a lot too in the writing community, how just because you have, one book, that doesn't mean you're going to get another book, and it doesn't mean that just because you got accepted once that they're all going to be acceptances now, because I don't know how yours is, but mine's been nothing but rejections ever since this
Yeah.
book, so I don't have anything else yet. And this was bought over 3 years ago, and so there's never any guarantees. And so I think, regardless of how long we've been in the business, like having this tangible piece that says, I did it. I may not ever do it again, but I did it, and then to really just, for me personally, like I'm trying just to lean into every event and every
Mhm.
memory and every moment because it is very precious and you don't know if you're going to get to do. I mean, at least I don't. You may have some other things in the works. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I don't. So for me, it's like I just want to soak up every bit of this experience and do all the things that I can do.
I just like yes to everything you said so much because my book sold in 2021 and it's supposed to have come out last year. So
Wow.
like I thought it wasn't gonna come out. I actually
Yeah.
didn't plan any vacation because I was like, oh, it's supposed to come out this summer. And then it didn't come out. And then I planned my vacation for spring and it came out in spring when I was in so like you can only control what you can control. But I
That's right.
100% feel the same way as you where like I do not take for granted any of it. I feel Oh my God, I feel so grateful every single moment. Like just how people are just so kind and they like want to give things to me and like I want to give them things because I'm like, why are you giving me things? I feel like you are the star, like I feel indebted to you or like,
Yeah.
I don't know either. I actually had an agent and then we parted ways and so I was getting a lot of rejections again for like a year. So I really thought this was it, this is the end of my journey and so every moment I'm just like really just trying to just soak it in too. And like every person that I meet, I'm trying to write down their
Yeah.
name. And, like, I mean, I never thought it would be that way. Like it's kind of reminds me of like when, you know, having a child and then they tell you like how it's gonna be. Like they usually tell you to warn you about the bad stuff too. you know?
Right.
And then
Right.
when you have a child, you're like, wow, this is so much better and also harder than they said it,
Right.
you know? It's both. It's no one could prepare you for how good it is. And so I tell my writer friend who's nervous like me, like I just hope that she does it because it's you won't believe how amazing it is to connect with people and to hear their own stories and have people thank me for writing the book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like thank you for reading it,
Yeah.
like I mean, it's just amazing. It's just so
Yeah.
grateful every day, and I don't take it for granted either because of that.
Yeah, for sure. It's quite a journey. Quite a journey. If somebody were to ask you, what is one thing that you hope people don't miss? Like somebody might overlook it, but you really, really hope that they capture this one thing. You really hope they don't overlook it. What would that be?
From my book, you mean?
Yes.
Um, I mean, just the obvious answer is that I want, like when I was a child, I was so shy that I have this story that I tell. My grandparents had like a surprise anniversary party, and then I had to give a speech and had it on index cards. And my cousins were gonna play music, and I was gonna sing the Rainbow Connection. and I was super nervous, but I practiced over and over again. And then when I got to the stage, I just felt the lights were like right on me. This is kind of like I think where I am a bone dancer came from. And every time I went to a microphone and I started to speak, I stopped. I kept starting and stopping, starting and stopping. And then eventually my mom came and she took me off the stage, and I regretted that moment so much. Like I've so many that was like when I was really little, and I never forgot about it. And so like I never whenever there's an opportunity, no matter how scared I am, I always do it. Even though I'm terrified. Like I just spoke at an author panel in Hawaii for the DOE. So it was all the teachers and it was all the school librarians, and I got to meet Michael, sorry, there too. And I I met Lee Tanauchi, who was also like this hero that I had for a long time. He went to my high school, and I was so terrified because I followed him, and I had to speak on a microphone, and I was so nervous.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's an amazing performer. He's also the Hawaii's poet laureate, so he's like,
Oh.
like really well known and very successful, and he just is amazing, when he does his presentation. And I was like, I thought I was gonna die. I was so nervous. I don't know if I've ever, and I told him, I spoke at funerals before and weddings, and I've never been that nervous before, and but I had to do it, and I'm glad that I did it, and I don't know how well I did because I was but I'm glad I did it. And so every time an opportunity comes up, I don't want to ever turn it down because of fear. And I tell my kids that too all the time. And I want other children to read the book and to hopefully that they will try, at least try to dance. Or and also another thing I hope they get from this is, if they don't feel confident or they don't have courage, is to like find out the history of their family, because I think everybody in their culture has somebody who's done something amazing, and that's where I draw my strength from. Is I think about my grandfather, my grandmother, and how little they had, and how he worked 3 jobs on the plantation, and even my mother, she was a single mother. Like you can draw from the strength of your ancestors, and that's what the book dance is too about.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I love, I think recently on socials you shared your own dancing as part of the Bond Dance. And
Oh,
I love, I mean, I think this journey causes us to kind of have to step out of our comfort zones in a lot of ways, like you were saying. But I think that's such a great example for kids because one of the things that I see in my work as a music teacher, I teach kindergarten through second grade, and oftentimes, especially my kindergartners and especially my boys, we dance every week in my music class. We end every single class with a dance. Sometimes it's like they're following somebody, sometimes they're just making up their own moves. We do it different ways, but a lot of times I see kids that will not, they're just like statues and they're just so afraid of looking silly. And I actually took a video of one of them. He was like stone face, like he wouldn't move like at all, like he was totally still. And I videoed him and I called him up quietly after class and I said, I want you to look at this. And I said, do you look like you're having fun? And he said, and I
oh,
said, does everybody else look like they're having fun? And he said, I said, you're not dancing to avoid standing out, right? But when you stand there and you don't, that's what stands out. And he danced every time after that.
oh,
Like
that's so
just
nice.
seeing that was so powerful for him. And I think that's the power of your book. And that's what it can do, for kids and adults too. We all can be crippled by fear, and just taking that chance and getting out there can lead to so much fun and doing things that you didn't know you could do.
Thanks. So that's such a beautiful story. I love hearing that. I think there's some age too where like kids, even with art too, like my son is that way too, is like then they start to say, oh, I don't want to do it because I'm not good at it. And that's so
Yeah,
sad. Like even
so
at
sad.
a young age to think that way, And,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope that kids will read it. And the good thing is when I met a lot of children when I was in Hawaii, like a lot of them are bone dancers, and they're like, the parents are like, oh, they're really good at it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing too about the abundance in Hawaii that I'm hearing about on the news is that a lot of churches are closing because the older generations are, dying out and passing away. And so um, I hope that this book will teach the younger generation, and I hope that it stays, as popular as it has been. And because I know, like, things change and people get interested in other things. And the reason why the Bon dance was so popular for so long was because, the Japanese coming from Hawaii, Japanese coming from Japan to Hawaii, they had that sense of community, and church was so important, and that's why it stayed that way. But things are changing now, and so I hope that the Bon dance continues to be a part of our culture. It's like not only popular in Hawaii but on the mainland as well. And that's another piece that I hope that my book will help preserve, is the culture, and remembering why we're doing it too.
Lovely, really beautiful. Let's wrap up this conversation by talking about what are you working on next. Do you have some nibbles or any news that you can share, or like just what's happening in your world? Is there a big event that's coming that you want to make us aware of? Just spill the tea, all things Brandy. What's happening?
Well, I just got my agent, a new agent. I'm working with Charlotte Wagner from Prospect Agency. So we haven't gotten submission, but I've never gotten submission before, so I'm super excited to go on submission. So hopefully we'll have good news because how many years ago I wrote the first book, so I have so many stories that have been
Right.
split up, and I feel like this pressure to create more stories for my family, because not that much people, even my kids, don't know about my family growing by the plantation, and
Mm.
they're very far removed from the culture. And so I feel like it's my purpose, to preserve and to share that. I actually got my minor in ethnic studies because I think it's so important. So I knock on wood that more stories will come out. I'm working on a middle grade that I've been, yeah, thank you, that I've been working on almost as long as the picture book, and I've rewritten it over and over. So I'm still working on that. So hopefully that will come out. And yeah, I have a couple more Bon Dance events I'm going to be doing the rest of the year. Because Bon Dance is only summer season, but it's starting to like go into fall now in Hawaii.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, and I'm doing one at Mari's Garden in Mililani, September 26th, and then I'm doing Windward Mall in Kaneohe, October 3rd, I think. So hopefully I have an opportunity to meet more people since the season is going to be over by then. And
Yeah.
who knows what's going to happen after that.
That's one of the nice things I think about Hawaii is your weather's so nice like year round that you can, it makes sense that that's kind of extending in your area where you are. So that's
Sure, thank
lovely.
you about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm
Very
meeting more
nice.
to like other abundances too. Like I wanted to go to the one in San Jose because I lived in San Jose for 10 years, but then it was the same weekend as the one in Hawaii where my story is inspired by, so I couldn't do both. But
Right.
I hope to do next year. And I know I want to reach out to more schools and libraries.
Yeah. And I've talked a lot with friends and family, like the lovely thing about not having another book like right on the heels. Like my friend Andrew Hackett, I don't know if you know Andrew, but Andrew, his debut book, he released, was it his debut? Anyway, he released three books like within a few months of each other. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
holy well, how do you
It's
even do that,
wild.
And
I
of
never.
course it's fabulous and wonderful, and I'm glad he found a way to do it. But also I think the lovely thing about the way that we're able to do it, or the way that we've been forced to do it, whichever way you want to think about it, but I think the lovely thing is that we do get to just slow down and enjoy it. And it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Like, we don't have another book coming out next week or even next year.
Mhm.
And so, we get to really extend. So, even though you didn't get to go to San Jose this year, maybe another year you can switch out and you can actually go and enjoy that one, because we're going to be sharing these books for a while.
Yeah, for sure. It is a lot of work, even though I enjoy it a lot. And I cannot imagine having three. I don't think I could do it. I would be too drained.
I
Because,
know.
yeah, I'm definitely an introverted person. So even though I enjoy it so much, I'm very drained after my event. So I don't think I could handle having more than just the
Yeah.
one was good for me.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm an extrovert, but I'm still like, it takes, people don't, I think, realize unless you've done it, like how much energy it
Oh
takes
my
just
God,
to,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Even
Mhm.
even for those of us who really get energy from being in the crowd and being with the people, like, it's still, it is a lot of work and it is exhausting. But when you're passionate about things, it just makes it so much fun too. And so, Yeah, it's lovely to do it, but it is tiring.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm really grateful that this is my first book because of all the connections to family and people. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people that I met are like knew my family. They're like, I worked with your grandmother, I worked with your uncle, and so that helped me to get through like when I was tired because I had in Kauai, my family friend had booked like 5 events for me in the weekend that I was there. So I had one like
Wow.
yeah, as soon as I got off the airport, I had an event. And then I had another one that night, and then the hotel and then the location of the bond dance was far. So it was like we'd have to drive 1 hour and then come back. And
Oh, yeah.
but I wouldn't have been able to do that if not for the fact that everybody was coming, like, they're like family to me. And so it just felt like a big party with family.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if I could do this another event, but I just, oh, that memory will always stay with me. That all those people who came and gave me lays and like books, and oh, it was just so meaningful. But
That's amazing. I'm so glad you're having a good debut experience. It's the
oh,
way
thank
things should
you.
be. Yeah.
You too. I'm so happy for you too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a great experience.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of great experiences, so people do have an opportunity to win a prize, and I think we said a copy of I Am a Bone Dancer. Is that still good for you? Yeah, so if you would like the experience of experiencing Bond Dance through Brandy's eyes, then all you have to do is leave a comment below. Just share what resonated with you about the episode, what you're looking forward to about her book, whatever you want to say about anything that we've shared, or if you've read her book. She would love to hear those positive comments. I'm quite sure we enjoy knowing that people are enjoying our books. So please do that. Leave her a comment, or me a comment, or both of us a comment below, and you'll automatically be entered. That's all you have to do, and then I'll reach out in a couple of weeks and let you know if you're the winner, and then I'll connect you and Brandy, and we'll get you your very own copy of I'm a Bone Dancer if you are the lucky winner. And this episode will stay up for just over a week. Both of us are coming back from travel and busy debut, so, and it's totally my fault. Like we kind of missed a week in there, but so her episode will be live and exclusive for around a week, and then it'll continue to be there. But the drawing will close after a week. So make sure you leave those comments in. But then you can continue to come back and enjoy. As always, I'm going to link up all of Brandy's socials and contact information below. All that you need to know if you would like to go purchase a copy of I Am a Bone Dancer, as well as, you know the drill, the YouTube playlist, the Pinterest board, the music teaching ideas, the general classroom teaching ideas, and the writing prompts. And Brandy's going to share maybe 3 to 5 of her very best writing tips, because after this, what is it, 10 plus years now of working on this journey, she has gathered up some great tips. She's going to share a few of those with you as well in this episode. So check everything out below, leave us a comment. Good luck to all of you, and make sure you check out Brandy's website and her book. And if you get a chance, if you're in Hawaii, check her out. Find one of the events where she's going to be. I know that you would enjoy it so much. It sounds so beautiful and lovely, Brandy. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you.
Great conversation. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and I hope to see you next time on PB
Jams, reading, writing, teaching. PB Jams, what a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PB Jams, songish books and bookish songs, tips for music teachers, interviews and book reviews, a little singing and dancing. PB Jams, yummy books and music. PB Jams, reading, writing, teaching. PB Jams, what a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PB Jams, 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 jams.